but there were times I had to get him man-to-man.
And your favorite team that you guys love to face in your division?
Yours.
Yes, sir.
It's actually games like we play against the Raiders, you might get 3 sacks when they had Jamarcus Russell, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I got 3 sacks on them in the first half, right?
Yeah.
And I'm ready, and they take Tommy Maddox.
We'll do the Broncos right now since you're talking. So let me get rid of that real quick. So I guess break down to me, what was your thought process for 2.0?
Yeah, my thought process is still just seeing how free agency's panned out, and it was pretty simple for Denver. Nothing has panned out as far as like the signings, and bringing some certain guys back shows me that, they're probably going to play out these 2 or 3 year deals, probably 2-year deals. And then they're going to be replaced by said possible, draft picks. So again, linebacker has been number 1 on my list pretty much the whole offseason. So I have CJ Allen, linebacker from Georgia, high motor guy. I love what he would bring to the defense. And obviously Georgia players typically do pan out in the NFL. So I think that'd be a great anchor. And then obviously Denver still hasn't done much with the tight end room. There's been a lot of talk about Kenyon Sadiq. I just don't see Kenyon Sadiq falling to the Broncos at 30. So I go 62, Eli Stowers, tight end Vanderbilt, very athletic. He could be a guy that doesn't have to necessarily line up on the line. He can, he can line up on the outside. He can line up inside, or he can play down as a tight end. I like Katron Allen. Running back was kind of a tricky one because this is a pretty deep class. It's just I just took the best available at that time. But I look at like if Emmett Johnson's there from Nebraska, if Mitchell's there from Arkansas, Kalen Black from Indiana. But I went with obviously Katron Allen, who's the 2-headed monster, with Nick Singleton at Penn State, and then Malik Benson, another receiver, Oregon. Just the Oregon ties with Bo. I don't remember if they played together or not. I'd have to go back and look. Landon Robinson, D tackle, Dante Corleone in the draft. Dante Corleone from Cincy, 2 D tackles I think could come in and be good depth pieces. Dante Corleone, I think is going to be a big time NFL player. He's a big dude, and he was an anchor for Cincy. And again, I'm not necessarily sure if he makes it to 170. I think he could be a steal in the late second, early third. Just depends on how teams value that position. Because again, there's a lot of D tackles and some that are going to go obviously in the first round. No, I don't need an explanation for 246.
No,
but
does not need to be said.
Kobe Baines could be a great Ben Power replacement after this season. So he'd, learn the system as a rookie, get his feet wet, and then he could, I would love Kobe Bryant to be Denver starting left guard.
Kobe Baines.
Kobe Bryant, Kobe Baines. So I'd love for him to be the starting guard for the Broncos in a couple of years, but it's 246. So there it is. Kayshawn Elliott, just again, you can never have too many linebackers. He could be a good special teams guy right away, practice squad guy, and then Jamari Taylor, or another running back. So again, it's a lot of position needs. Again, of those 9 picks, probably 5 of them would make the team. Other guys, undrafted free agency. You never know what diamonds you'll find as an undrafted guy. So that's 2.0. It's a lot different. I had Anthony Hill in my first one. I still would like to have Anthony Hill, and Jacob Rodriguez obviously is up there as well. So again, hit the position it needs. And again, I think this helps Denver, and I promise Bronco fans are still going to sign a free agent.
There we go. Austin, I got your 2.0 up right here.
Yeah, you do. Looks real good. I don't know. I don't think the board falls how the Chiefs want with pick 9. I do think that they would trade back depending on how it falls. Not doing that in my, 0.0, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 drafts. Just going to draft the picks that are there. So with this one, just Kenyon Sadiq, learn behind Travis for a year. Yes, we could get a receiver, but Sadiq could play receiver this year while Travis is doing tight end. You can find ways to make it work. I just don't think it falls how they want. Sadiq, once he ran that 40 and had that combine, I don't think picking him at 9, anyone would even question that. It might have a little bit of, debate behind it, kind of like Loveland at 10 last year for the Bears. But honestly, if a dude's there and you want him, why not take him? So that was my thought process behind Sadiq. Miller at 29. I do think the Chiefs need to have a tackle plan in place, just in case Jalen Moore doesn't quite work out at right tackle, or if something goes on with Simmons again, whatever. But you can wait for edge, which is what I did with pick 40. Parker at edge from Clemson. He could be a day one starter, so you're getting that at pick 40. They clearly need edge. I still think they sign a veteran at edge, whoever it is, before the draft as well. Pick 74 and pick 148. Those are going to be my two favorite ones. We obviously know Chiefs lost all their corners essentially, or at least, the top of their depth chart at corners.
Mm-hmm.
I love both of the Washington corners. They're both big. They both already have a great foundation in place. And Emmett Thomas is one of the best DB coaches in football. You don't believe me? Just go look at the last 5 years of what Chiefs have done in the secondary with high picks, with low picks, with undrafted people, with anybody they bring in, what they're able to do to coach them up. So I think they have the foundations in place. And you being able to get 2 6'3", 6'4" corners round 3 and round 5, giving Emmett Thomas that to work with could be dangerous. Bud Clark, safety, there's still a little work to do in the safety room. I think he could come in and be an immediate impact on special teams, as well as a nice rotational safety. Again, mostly defense here. I know Chiefs fans are still saying offense this, offense that, but if we have a healthy offensive line, a good running game, and our receiving room is good enough, I think Patrick can elevate that offense to be worthy enough, which is why I went edge again at 5. Anthony Jr., he kind of just fits the mold of what Spags likes at DN, kind of long and lengthy and strong.
Mm-hmm.
Borderline make the roster at that point, depending on what the rest of the room looks like from free agency and the draft. I think Chiefs D tackle room is okay. You can never have enough big bodies, though. Benny, I think, can come in and immediately be a rotational big guy. Not many snaps, but he'll give you valuable snaps. And then my steal for receiver, I do think Chiefs need a receiver, and I like this guy at the end of drafts.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a repeat from my 1.0 because I like him. He's got some size, but he also has that 4.3, 4.4 speed. I think he would immediately come in and make the roster. I think he would immediately come in and push for some snaps at the 3-4 spot. He's a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I like the receiver coach we have now, so I think he can sharpen his tools quickly. And I think if there's any time you can get a potential starter and playmaker in round 6, you're going to do it. So that's kind of the draft, mostly defense, a couple weapons, and a protector. You probably, when you have a franchise quarterback that you're paying $500 million to, you should probably always draft a weapon or two and a protector, no matter what, in every draft. Take notes, Chargers. You should probably always do that with quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes. So that's my 2.0.
Chargers, they had two tackles though. They're fine.
But then they did nothing. You gotta Chiefs still have quote unquote their tackles, but you still gotta take one or two, man. You can never have enough protection for your quarterback.
Well,
or playmakers.
I think they had enough tackles. Just what was happening is, the tackles were getting injured, so they didn't have 6 and 7 string tackles that they can just throw in there and be productive. That's kind of hard to find value at your 6th and 7th, bench player.
No, well, you got to do it, and that's why you should take one or two every draft.
Mm-hmm.
Load up your roster, load up the practice squad. You should always do that. So, but again, it should be mostly defense. Again, there can still be some veteran signings or something that'll change mock 3.0 or 4.0. But where the roster sits right now, it's got to be a lot of D-line, specifically edge, some secondary corners. There could probably be a linebacker, and I kept wanting to take one, but I'm not one who reaches, and one never fell. So I think I would just live with what the Chiefs have. As long as Bolton and Tranquil, one of the two are always healthy, we'll at least have our green dot. So anything beyond that could be rough, but should be defense.
All right. I like it. All right. So here's the Raiders mock draft. Of course, number 1 overall pick, Mendoza. We're not going to overcomplicate it. we're going to do exactly what we need to do. And then this one, I went between getting some defensive pieces that I know that we're going to need based on the contracts we just signed, and, you know, certain positions that we really don't have anybody there quite yet. So needed a interior lineman. So Caden McDonald, I thought, was a pretty good value there at the second round. Ramsey with safety, I felt like he would be underrated for what the Raiders need to do in that secondary, especially when you have a safety position right there. And then it was just more or less of going between defense and offense, just like what you were saying, Austin. You need to get some offensive linemen. And so what I tried to do is every so often when a good value would come up in the pick, I grab a guard and I grab a tackle, because Colton Miller's not going to be around for that much longer. I think he's got a couple more seasons in him. Yes, we got Linderbaum, we have JPJ, but we need another guard and another tackle on the opposite side. So I felt like getting some young talent that can develop and learn under Linderbaum and what the Raiders are doing and still fit within that 3-year window. You know, Kyle Lewis here at Pittsburgh for the linebacker spot. He's more or less of a hybrid, very similar to like a Nakobe Dean, who's able to kind of keep up with a little bit of like the tight ends, but, you know, has enough speed to cover and to be in coverage. Also can be a pretty good special teams guy if needed. And then Vincent Anthony Jr., maybe somebody with a high motor, along with Dennis Sutton, again, in the rotation to learn under Max Crosby. So a lot of these were more or less of like pieces that could learn and then also could bring value and still fit within the 3-year window. So that was kind of how 2.0 fell for me. I feel like I wish maybe I would have looked at maybe a running back in a later round or a receiver, but I feel like going with interior linemen, edge, and safety for sure, and Ramsey, I thought was probably the best bet that I can hope for the Raiders to do to kind of build some sort of defense and get some trench work for both sides of the ball. So that was kind of how my mock draft fell for the Raiders. And I don't know if this is how it'll play out, but some decent players. If half of these hit, I think I'd be satisfied with it, because majority of drafts, especially to have 11 picks or whatever the number is, it's really hard to hit on every pick. Like,
you just need one of them to hit.
One or two in some good spot. You know, like if there are two that I wanted to hit, one is the quarterback, and two for sure I'd want that safety position to hit.
You will take this draft class if only Fernando Mendoza pans out.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the one you have to have hit.
And again, like what we were talking about, and we talked about this a lot on TikTok yesterday, Corey, which is we're doing what we can to set up Mendoza in the right coaching situation, getting offensive line to give him the best opportunity to be successful right out the gates, rather than waste a year on a poor offensive line or a coach that's on his way out. So I feel like this mock draft is, I don't know if this will be the best mock draft I've ever done, but if the Raiders did this, I wouldn't be opposed to some of the players. And again, some of the coaching staff, they'd have to really find some diamonds in the rough. But if the number one works out, then I think we're heading in the right track.
Yeah, I have a couple questions and comments for both of yours, and I think it'll be kind of cool to get a division rival's feedback on it. So I'll start with yours since it's up.
Okay.
I love your pick 102. I don't think enough people are talking about him. And I honestly would not be surprised if he goes higher than 102.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I love that pick. And I know you mentioned running back. I think 134 would have been a good spot. And I only say that. Now, I think he's a better linebacker. But your pick 219, I like him too.
Yeah.
But I think he complements what the two you brought in better.
Mm-hmm.
Heineke is more of a pounder bruiser type, which would complement Dean and Walker better.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was like a for sure running situation, you could take Nakobe Dean out and put Heineke in,
right,
to kind of play at the line. So I really like that pick as well, because he's a big dude.
Yeah,
you're not going to ask him to cover a whole hell of a lot, and if you are, you should probably be questioning your scheme.
Right. Yeah. He's a big guy.
Yeah. Especially if it's anything other than like, hey, just go cover the flats for me real quick, dude.
Right.
Or something like that. But honestly, I would like this draft if I was a Raiders fan. Maybe even receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think you're going to get a year to test out Jack Besh. Was it Thornton?
Yeah. Dante Thornton Jr.
Yeah, Trey Tucker. You brought in Naylor. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of take a late one, kind of a stab. But overall, I like your draft. I think the pick 67 and 102, that would feed families in Las Vegas, just given what you guys have done for agency, bringing in another edge like DDS. And then, again, we've said it plenty of times, safety's pretty deep.
Yeah.
And Ramsey's one of those. I think in a lot of years, he would be the second or third safety off the board.
Yep.
And you're going to get a guy like that at 67 who's probably going to be like fifth or sixth safety off the board. So, yeah, I really like the draft, obviously, from what I said. You drafted linemen.
And I think what I'm seeing a lot of from Raider fans is one, obviously, is Fernando. Within 36, Ja'Cory Lane's the name to kind of keep an eye on, receiver. They're kind of like in the quarterback receiver, bring those two guys in. And if it were Ja'Cory Lane, if I were a Raiders fan, I wouldn't be too upset by that. You're going position needs and where you need your depth pieces. And again, you're like me, whereas I don't think Denver's receivers are that bad either. I don't think Denver needs to prioritize receivers, and I don't think the Raiders necessarily need to do that either.
Right.
Let me ask a question on that, because I feel like our three fan bases are the same. Are any of our fan bases like the Bengals or the Viking or any of these stacked receiver rooms? No. But I think all of our receiver rooms have enough in it to make plays right now, right? To where you're not going to reach for a receiver. But all of the fans want that Justin Jefferson, that Jamar Chase type receiver. Right. But if your receiver room's good enough, why waste a quality pick like that if you're okay with your room?
Well, and I'll say this about the AFC West rooms. Like, for example, I think the Broncos have a very good receiver room. And I think, and I mentioned this too during, the regular season, that I felt like for some reason the play calls were conservative where it wasn't utilized a lot. Like, Corey, to your point, like I thought Marvin Mims should have been more involved. And some days we'd get Troy Franklin, and other days Sutton would either be on or off. And then for the Chiefs, I thought the Chiefs, when they got Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, you get all those receivers, I thought like, man, that's going to be a really good core. And I feel like that your two teams are like coaching away from like being like on that level. And for the Raiders, we're just super young. I think a reason why I didn't really go for a receiver in my latest mock draft is because I thought what the Raiders might do is once the draft is settled, I feel like they're going to go in free agency and get a veteran receiver that's going to not be the one, but he's got to be the veteran guy that teaches that young receiver room. Because Besh is
Allen.
Well, I don't know Keenan Allen, but I was going to throw a name out there, and I don't know how reliable that's going to be. But I wouldn't be surprised if for some reason Diggs takes a discount and goes to Las Vegas, which I don't want to happen, but I would not be surprised. And that's where I was like, I don't think we're going to get like a number one alpha in this draft, but we may develop Besh, Dante Thornton Jr., Trey Tucker's still a good receiver. He's not a scrub by any means. And the Naylor too, with his speed and his deep threat ability, like it's a complimentary room, but you don't have, to Austin's point, Justin Jefferson. You don't have
your number
Chase.
One receiver too. Like you have your number. It's Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
like
of course.
He tight end one, but he's wide receiver one.
Like Kels for all those years. That can be how Bowers is. I will say though, if we're just talking football field, I don't hate Diggs with Mendoza. If we're just talking football,
right?
Again, that's not the case with Diggs, but he is extremely reliable. He has some of the best catch percentages in football during his playing time. Just on the football field, I actually would like him with Mendoza. Unfortunately, there's a lot of non-football that can really ruin a Mendoza
in Las Vegas, situation. Nonetheless.
Exactly. So I will say, if Diggs can come there and magically figure his non-football stuff out,
right?
I absolutely would love what that would do for the Raiders, Mendoza, and the receiver room.
Yeah, I'm still okay with what we have in getting a veteran that's not going to bring attention in that sense. But like I said, and a lot of it was today and how the draft would roll. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw that kind of a move. I don't know how I'd like it, but I could see that happening somewhere along the way post-draft, I think.
Did you have any more questions or Cody's? Or I had a couple on yours that I wanted to get to, but I wanted to get through all of ours. So my one question is, there's a lot of double dipping from you. My first one is at running back.
Well, yeah, the double dip was that's Mr. Irrelevant.
Well, I know, but you still want to take someone who made how many running backs? Because you guys resigned.
Yeah, we did. We got all 4 running backs back in the room that we had last year. I'm telling everybody that I don't think Jaleel McLaughlin and Tyler Bidet will be on the opening. Like, I don't
really.
You bring them back one. Jaleel McLaughlin was a 1 year, like 1.15 million. Tyler Bidet was very similar. So you're not like those will be cost of like you brought him back because you probably will end up releasing them. Jamari Taylor would probably be the same thing. He could be a practice squad guy that you maybe, he could end up being an undrafted guy that you may bring in for, practice squad. But Jamari Taylor was just kind of there, and I just kind of grabbed it because it was a position that, is still a need. And he could be like Jaleel McLaughlin. Jaleel McLaughlin was an undrafted guy, right? So again, that could be very similar to like a Jamari.
Yeah, and the other double dips the D tackles, that makes sense. You lose JFM, plus it was already one that you were kind of needed strengthen up anyway. So I get that one. Linebacker, I kind of understand that one too. You lose Greenlaw, again, still a big position of need. So my big one was I saw a lot of double dipping, which makes sense. Like you said, you're a position of need guy. So that kind of answered a couple of them. But the running back one is what surprised me. A little bit was double dipping there since you did bring 4 back. I just feel like Sean loves McLaughlin to where I just feel like he is going to be on the roster, just given the love for him. But again, like I said earlier, you can never bring in enough playmakers. Yeah, we are watching the WBC, and he absolutely obliterated that home run.
Yeah, Skeens gave up a home run there on that one while we were giving as you were giving commentary, and we're all just watching it leave the park. So
I honestly was hoping nobody would ask, and I wouldn't have to comment on it. But Junior Cameron, I believe it was Caminero.
Yeah,
a very far. It was actually impressive because it was actually a hanging curve outside that he pulled very far. But
I wanted to make the remark when Skeens take the mound, he put out Tatis, Soto, and I forgot who the third guy was. He just set him up, set him down, 1, 2, 3, and then it was actually the bottom of the lineup that got him. So I was like, "Come on, Skeens!" But
meaningful baseball, though, it's cinema. But other than that, I actually like this Denver draft. I think Stowers is kind of a slept-on tight end. There's actually some sites who have him creeping into the late first, early second.
Yeah, and I still think, and I don't know if he'll actually be there at 62.
Yeah. And because we've seen how offenses are kind of shifting back to tight end offenses. I mean, obviously everyone always wants tight ends, but you're seeing it more from Kels, and then now we're in the McBride, Loveland, Warren, Pitts era. Bowers is obviously goated. So I think the tight end position is becoming a little more valuable again. And this class is loaded. Even if you didn't get Stowers, you could have taken one of your picks down the road and gotten Bentley, who's another athletic. There's so many good tight ends. It's a good year to need a tight end.
It is. And I'll still caution it again. I think if Denver didn't have high expectations of Evan Ingram, they would have already released him. Mm-hmm. I do believe Davis Webb taking over play calling, they're going to give Evan Ingram one more crack at it. And I do believe Davis Webb learns to get Evan Ingram and Marvin Mims involved more. And again, I tell everybody that this is, yes, it's going to be Sean's offense, but it's going to have Davis Webb all over it. So meaning it's going to take Sean Payton's plays with Davis Webb adding certain looks in there, certain scheme to it. So I do think that they have high expectations for Evan Ingram. If Evan Ingram and J.K. Dobbins staying healthy and Evan Ingram getting up to 600, 650 yards, look out, because I still think this offense still has juice, guys. And again, it's going to hinder on, can JK stay healthy and can RJ take that next step? Because if those 3 things can happen right there, you're happy with this roster. Because now you're not looking for the big time free agents. You can plug in, you can sign the low level guys and just plug them in as they go.
Right.
So again, I get why you're frustrated as a fan, but I also say relax a little bit, take a deep breath, and understand that this team's still pretty dang good.
I love how every conversation gets back to that for Denver. No matter where it starts, that's where it's ending up. It's because it's all we've heard and seen on TikTok lives the last basically week.
And I think I mentioned this. There's still winners of the AFC West, and they're bringing back the squad that won the AFC West. I'm not trying to say that maybe they shouldn't update a little bit, but at the same time, like that team with, you can say, a hindrance of offensive play calling from the OC or whatever, it got, I guess, upgraded in Davis Webb. Maybe with the change of play calling, maybe it'll make that offense correct. And then if that's the case,
that's the word.
Right.
That's
and if that's the case, then can Davis Webb unlock Evan Ingram from when he was with the Jaguars and he had that breakout season? You know, will he utilize Mims and Franklin to what we all thought? You know, and that's a scary thought to think about, that maybe the best look of this offense, it hasn't even happened yet. So,
well, and I think, how many times did you guys say before the season, so going into this previous season when all of our teams were 0-0, how often were you and everyone else saying it's the Chiefs division until it's not?
Right.
It's no different right now. Now, because Denver won it most recently, it is Denver's division until it's not. Just like the Super Bowl. Seahawks are your Super Bowl champs until they're not. So, again, Denver's returning like 96% of their snaps. Not a bad thing from a team that won a lot of games. The only reason I'm semi-hesitant, but again, I'm not in an NFL front office.
Right.
They did have a lot of one-possession games, and obviously a lot of other teams are getting better. So now are those games potentially going to swing a different way now?
Mm-hmm.
But if you bring back the team, hit your draft, and you think the difference in modernized offensive play calling actually, that in of itself is an addition, then you believe in that and you're going to run it with that. So until somebody proves that Denver's going to suck and they're not going to win the division, nobody can rightfully say that this division isn't Denver's right now.
Bobby Witt Jr. just got a single. He's on first right now.
Dude, you're ahead of us. Stop.
Royals legend.
Bobby Witt just stepped into the box, so.
Oh, he's going to get a single. Just I see into the future, you guys.
That's awesome. Did you guys have any questions on the Chiefs one? Obviously, I'm not going to comment on it because I built it and kind of went over it. But
I guess my only question is, and I know that 9 pick is a wild card, and you even mentioned that as well. I guess from your perspective, would you rather the Chiefs focus on an offensive impact player or defensive impact player at that 9 spot?
The only receiver I would like at 9 is Carnell Tate. He was gone. My options were a bunch of tackles, and I can't remember what else. Again, if it falls how it did almost the 12 times I did a freaking mock draft to get my 2.0, I think the Chiefs would trade back a little bit, unless they really do want to take a tackle at 9, which would have me crashing out so hard. You do have to get an impact player via offensive weapon, whether it's Tate, Sadiq, or you have to get an edge rusher, defensive playmaker, Caleb Downs, Reuben Bain, David Bailey, whoever falls there. I wouldn't even be upset with the LSU corner, just because, again, corners now are wild. They're getting paid. Bring in a dude who can impact game 1, so by that 5th year, you can either McDuffie him or re-sign him. But with how it fell, I wasn't taking a tackle at 9. So I went with the best playmaker, offense or defense, and that was Sadiq, who was left.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, solid.
I can tell you did this draft.
Why? Offense and a ton of defense?
Yep. That's
You've got the most important positions: tight end, tackle, everything else defense.
Yeah. And honestly, if Carnell Tate's at 9 and we pick Carnell Tate, I won't be upset. And honestly, the league would probably be a little upset with that, because I think Carnell Tate is the only one whose ceiling is superstar from a receiver standpoint in this draft. I think Lemon and who's the other guy I'm forgetting? Tyson.
Yeah.
I think they have good floors, but I think Carnell Tate is the one who can truly become a superstar. So I wouldn't be upset with him at 9, but I don't. That's too high for Tyson, and it's too high for Lemon at 9. Carnell Tate's legit. He's a dude who gets open against man, and that's been our problem.
What do you think then at that 29 pick, rather than getting a tackle? What if you got one of the quarterbacks, McCoy?
That's the pick I actually think they trade.
Again, I think it depends how the board falls. The last time we had this situation, we used that second first-round pick to trade up to get McDuffie. we traded, I think it was to 21 or 22 to get McDuffie, and we double dipped that draft with Karlaftis. But I think the Chiefs, I told him it's what they always do. They get their roster set pre-draft. Like if they go into week 1 with what their roster is pre-draft, they are going to be comfortable with it. So they're really a team who can see how the draft falls. They can trade up, they can trade back, best player available, someone they like. That second pick in round 1, I think, is the biggest question mark. Again, I do think that is the one they will trade, whether they use it to package with 9 to move up some to get Tate. If that's the dude they want at 9, I think they would package 29 to move up a few spots to get Tate.
Yeah.
If we're not talking trades, I still think pick 29 is best player available, whether it's tackle, corner, edge. And it so happened to be in my mock draft, Miller was the best player from those 3 positions. So that's what I went with.
Yeah. I think then 3.0 guys is where we just unleash holy hell on trades and random.
I have one.
Not me.
I have one stored, Cody.
I know. Is this the one that you shared with us where like you had every pick in the second round almost?
Maybe. No, it's one where I traded back, and I ended up with like Caleb Downs at 14, Kenyon Sadiq at 15. I can't remember who at 29, but yeah, essentially I have one loaded. If we're
Who's your guy? Who's the Chiefs GM again? What's their name?
Brett Veach.
Did you submit that to Veach and say, "Hey man, here's what I did. Let's get it done"?
I was gonna tag him in it on X, and then I realized the person who's at Brett Veach is some like alien from South Asia or something.
Got it.
Not actually Brett Veach, so I didn't. But I was gonna tag him in it.
That'd be very interesting. I can't wait to see 3.0. I feel like, because I was actually debating about starting to do trades, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, there was one where I did trade the first overall pick, and I can't remember how it turned out, but it was just funny because, as you know, because we go off of this website that will present you drafts or trades that it's simulating, right? And so like every time I start the mock draft, I get like 8 simulated trade offers that I have to feed through. And like some of them are like literally sending me almost every pick that they have.
Did you know you can trade players on there?
No, but I think now I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens.
If you want to know how one draft I ended up with like 14, 15, 19, 23, 28, 29, 33, 40, 44. I think this draft is deep.
See, and this last comment right here is for Caleb Downs. He will not fall below. See, that's where I'm kind of leaning towards. I still think, man.
That's my dog on X, by the way. Amari's my dog.
Yeah, I don't think Caleb Downs gets out of the top 5 either.
He should go 2.
He should. He is the best player in this draft, in my opinion. And again, I do put him over Jeremiah. I put him way over Fernando Mendoza.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
positional value.
Yeah. But again, Ohio State's absolutely just freaking stacked, man. You could literally have Ohio State be probably the first 4 picks.
They're going to have what, probably 5 or 6 in the top 10?
Yeah, something like that. 5 or 6 within the first 10 to 11 picks. Like, I think it's supposed to be close to the record, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
I forgot what team it was that had 7 of 13 picks or whatnot. And
it was probably Ohio State.
Yeah.
So it was probably Georgia.
I think it was Georgia, yeah.
I will say, though, just because positional value would be the only reason Caleb Downs slips a little bit. Because as much as we want to, safeties aren't one of those high-paid positions. You're looking to draft tackle, edge. He's not, but you're going to pay him like a safety because that's his position. Usually top 10, you want to get one of those premier paid positions: quarterback, edge, corner, tackle, receiver. That's the
Caleb Downs would be an edge rusher if you'd let him.
He would. Homeboy
would play. He's safety by trade. He could play corner. He could play linebacker. You put him next to Chris Jones on the D line, he would probably work his ass.
It's kind of like that story about Bobby Knight when he recommended draft Michael Jordan. Well, we need a center. Draft Michael Jordan, put him at center. Just you draft him.
He's one of those. Caleb Downs would play receiver for your team if you asked him to. And he would. I'm not saying he'd be Justin Jefferson, but he'd figure it out and he'd do good enough for you.
I said last season, as we were getting into preseason stuff, that when we started kind of looking ahead to the prospect, I said Caleb Downs will be an all-pro sooner rather than later. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was defensive rookie of the year and possibly an all-pro as a rookie.
Well, I think it would depend on what defense gets him, though, if I'm being honest.
True.
Yes, very true.
If he gets with Spags, you could be looking at MVP season. But if he goes to, no offense, if he goes to like the Jets at 2,
Mm-hmm.
he's still going to do well, but he may not be used well enough to really get the spotlight shined on him.
Well,
See,
he'll
I was
definitely
thinking
lead the
Robert
team in
Saleh, too.
tackles, probably. So
Robert Saleh would do dirty things with Caleb Downs on his defense.
yeah,
Saleh and Spags are the 2.
and because I don't need to really repeat, but second is the Jets. You got Cardinals at 3, Titans at 4, Giants
4.
at 5, and Browns at 6. Like, I don't know if he goes beyond the Browns.
Harbaugh at 5 could get
Right.
him to be like Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, and again, I also look at the Browns. No, it's the
Yeah.
Browns
But
again.
their defense,
Yeah,
well, Shorts is gone, so we don't know what to
we
expect.
don't know that, but again, I would hate for the kid to end up in Cleveland, honestly. But if you could put him with like the Giants, or I still think the Titans go Jeremiah Love, but
Someone remind me, who's the head coach for the Browns now? Oh, it's Monken.
Todd
Never mind.
Monken.
Todd
Yeah.
Monken.
Yeah. So again, yeah, I mean, there's lots of things, and we could honestly we'll get into all this as we get closer to the draft. But I think we've made it very clear how we feel about Caleb Downs. I've made it clear very, very much so that I thought he'd be a top 5 pick last year if he would have came out.
Right.
It's one of those where if Caleb Downs is on the board at 9 and the Chiefs are like, no, man, we're dead set on taking a tackle, I will have the ultimate. I know my name's not Cody, but I will have an absolute Cody crash out.
I hope that happens.
Yeah, you guys
'cause
are more than welcome to have a crash out without having the name that goes with it. So feel free to crash out whenever y'all want.
Y'all passion on the torch. No, I honestly, and it's one of those where who's their middle linebacker?
Who?
Ohio State. Not Reese, the other one. Styles. Again, I'm not go hung about taking a off-ball linebacker at 9, but this is another one of those dudes who I'm probably going to break the exception for. Like if he falls tonight, which he won't, he shouldn't. But again, off-ball linebackers kind of you don't take them too high.
Mm-hmm.
If that is who Chiefs end up drafting, again, I'm not going to be mad because I still think he's athletic enough to play nickel, and he can play kind of that hybrid position to where, again, Ohio State is presenting a few exception players in this draft where that could break exceptions. Like if Caleb Downs goes 2 or 3, I would imagine that's the highest a safety would ever be drafted.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be like the Cardinals. I could look at him, pairing him with Budda Baker.
Oh, God.
Oh, that'd be nasty.
It would. And again, new coaching staff there. Again, very much generational player. I could sit here and
I don't like Ohio State. For those who are wondering, I'm not an Ohio State homer. I actually do not like it. It's been very documented that I am actually a Michigan football fan, but I am not going to ignore the talent that Ohio State's putting into the draft. Just in case people think I'm being biased right now, it's quite the opposite. I do not like Ohio State.